Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Liminal Pathways podcast. I am your host, Sarah, and I'm so honored that you took the time to spend a moment and listen to my podcast. It's a really amazing experience seeing your work being put out there. I am honored that I have like 5 new followers on my podcast. I know for a lot of people, 5 followers, that might be nothing, but that's really something to me. Seeing the outpouring of support, the supportive comments, and the shares, and I'm feeling very inspired and grateful. I am doing a little traveling right now, visiting a friend. So if you see a kitty come on the screen, my friend's kitty. All right. So, as I mentioned in the first podcast, my vision for the Liminal Pathways podcast is multifaceted because I am multifaceted. So, I do plan on giving monthly astrology reports. So I will be talking a little bit about some of the transits, the late February transits, and how that ties in to the transits in March. As I'm filming this today on February 17th, today is the Lunar New Year. So welcome, Fire Horse. I am very excited for this year, the year of the snake. And so many people that I'm talking to, 2025, they're like, I had this tower moment, that tower moment. And I'm like, me too, me too. So, with this energy of going from the nine to the one, which is very interesting because I've been talking about Neptune and Saturn are now together in Aries. And that conjunction will be exact at 0 degrees and 43 minutes on February of February 20th, 2026. By the time this podcast episode comes out, I anticipate that we will be after this Saturn Neptune conjunction. So, just really taking stock and noticing. As I've mentioned, this solar eclipse in Aquarius on the 17th is at 28 degrees. That's a very mature degree. The sun and the moon are conjunct at 28 degrees of Aquarius. Aquarius is a fixed air sign that is ruled by Saturn, which is now at 0 degrees of Aries, so across the Rubicon from Pisces into Aries. And its more traditional ruler, Uranus, went direct. So Uranus is at 27 degrees of Taurus, a fixed earth sign, the bull. So this eclipse, this disruption of light, this ring of fire, is making a square aspect, which is a harsh aspect to Uranus. And adding on to that, eclipses are already known to be chaotic, malefic. Eclipses on their own have a very Uranian charge to them. So the fact that this eclipse is making that tense aspect with Uranus in Taurus also makes me think of the economy and the stock market, which isn't really my knowledge piece, so I'm not going to talk much on that. So, yeah, the energy of February has proved itself to be highly chaotic. The 17th is the beginning of this eclipse portal. And on March 3rd, 3 Trinity, we have a lunar eclipse in Virgo. Where are my Virgo risings at? Just wondering. Raise your hand. I am personally a Virgo rising, Virgo moon. So I have a lot of Virgo energy in my first house of self. And the South Node has been in Virgo since January 2025. The nodes stay in signs for about 18 months. So this summer, we will have the nodes shifting from Pisces, Virgo, right? North node in Pisces, South node in Virgo into Aquarius, Leo. I'm going to talk about that when we get into the summer more. And with my pattern recognition stuff, I couldn't help but notice that this summer, when the nodes shift from Pisces, Virgo into Aquarius, Leo, this happens. Okay, I might be getting a little too deep, too technical. Bear with me. It's like late August. I think that the sun is going to be at around 27 degrees Leo, which is exactly opposite where this eclipse is. And basically, we're going to have the sun and I don't have notes. The sun and the south node conjunct near the fixed star of Regulus. Regulus is associated with kings. And there's a certain political figure in the US, not going to say his name, who has his rising sign at 29 degrees of Leo. So I'm very curious how this is going to pan out for him. Um, my rising sign is 0 degrees Virgo, so I know a thing or two about Regulus. It's kingly, and its downfall is like excessive pride through ego, through hubris. So it's so interesting that I'm a Virgo rising. This person is a Leo rising. Our rising signs are like 1 degree apart, but in different zodiac signs. Um, but I just laugh because astrology is funny. I'm going to talk more about that over the summer, but that was just me being a nerd and looking ahead. So, the 20th, Saturn and Neptune will meet. On the 3rd of March, we have this lunar eclipse in Virgo. So, going back to what I was saying regarding the South Node being in Virgo since January 2025, if you have mutable placements, which are Pisces, Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, I would just pay attention to how this is impacting your chart. It's going to be at 12, 13 degrees of Virgo. So, a lunar eclipse is a full moon. So, I may use the terms interchangeably. We are talking about a full moon. New moon, as I always like to say, I see new moons as beginnings and endings because beginnings are endings. And full moons are like this climax point of the cycle. So I talked about Mercury retrograde in the first episode. So I'm just trying to tie February and March together. We have Mercury, the planet of communication, going retrograde, so tracing its steps back in the sign of Pisces. Pisces is an uncomfortable sign for Mercury to be in because Pisces is the ocean and Mercury just feels more comfortable in signs such as Virgo and Gemini because Mercury rules those signs. So, backtracking a little bit, the day before we have this lunar eclipse in Virgo, that full moon, Mars, the planet of war, the planet of action, enters Pisces. Mars, not the strongest in Pisces, so very curious as to how this is going to pan out. On the 6th of March, we have Venus, the sign of the planet of beauty, the feminine polarity of love, romance, attraction, beauty, the divine feminine, regardless of what gender you identify as, entering Aries. And Aries is the self. Aries is the first zodiac sign. It is a cardinal fire sign ruled by Mars. Hi, the kitty cat again. You want to make an appearance? Let's see. Let's see. Okay. She changes her mind. Oh, we got a tail. All right, I'm distracted by the cat. Can't you tell I'm ruled by Mercury? So Venus enters Aries. So we have Mars and Venus, the masculine and the feminine polarities, respectively, of I'm so distracted by this cat. This is crazy. So now we're getting into Cazimis. So Cazimis are when the sun and a planet are within like 17 minutes of each other. So on March 7th, we have the sun and Mercury in a Cazimi at 16 degrees and 52 minutes. A cazimi is when a planet is in the heart of the sun. I believe cazimi is an Arabic term for the heart of the sun. So a cazimi is when a planet like Mercury, Venus, etc., is within 17 minutes of the sun. It has to be very exact, otherwise it's known as combust, meaning that the sun is just like overpowering this energy. For example, back in January, we had a few Cazimias with the Sun in Capricorn, with Venus and Mars. So it's really highlighting certain themes in your life that are exemplified by those planets. So with March 7th, we have the Sun and Mercury in Cazimi in Pisces. Interesting. I'm curious about how that's going to play out. Maybe more of a compassionate tone in how we communicate, how we speak, how we relate to others. I know we had the monks, I believe, walking for peace in, I want to say the capital, which is very symbolic of this oneness energy. So that's something that I'm a little hopeful about. And then on that same day, the 7th, we have Venus making a conjunction with Neptune at 1 degree of Aries. So, as I mentioned, the Saturn-Neptune conjunction is going to be exact on the 20th of February, and then it will separate. So Saturn will keep progressing through the sign of Aries, and both Saturn and Neptune will be in Aries, but Saturn tends to move a little faster, right? So on the same day that the Sun conjuncts Mercury, we have Venus conjunct Neptune. And the crazy thing is, the day after that, Venus conjuncts Saturn at 2 degrees of Aries. So, talking a lot about the Neptune Saturn conjunction because it is, in my opinion, like the biggest transit of 2026. Because, as previously stated, Saturn and Neptune only meet together every 36 years. So the last time Saturn and Neptune conjuncted was in Capricorn in 1989 when the Berlin Wall fell. And in my nerd specialty, I was taking a look at throughout history the Saturn Neptune conjunctions, the one before 1989, looking at what was going on. You had, the Second Red Scare. Before that is World War One. I could keep going and going. So to tie that back into March, so the Saturn and Neptune conjunction, and Saturn and Neptune couldn't be more opposite. Saturn is the form and Neptune's the formless. They're going to separate and they're both going to get a kiss from Venus. So I'm curious as to what this could mean in regards to love and romance. Maybe dreams becoming more tangible. I'm sensing more of that grounded manifestation energy for that. So the next transit I'm going to talk about, which I'm very excited about, on March 11th, we have Jupiter going direct at 15 degrees of Cancer. So Jupiter is a planet of luck, blessings. Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. It is said that Jupiter likes to expand whatever it touches, which makes sense because in mythology, Jupiter and Zeus are associated. Jupiter also does very well in the sign of Sagittarius. It's very abundant. Jupiter rules Sagittarius. So Jupiter is in Cancer, exalted in Cancer, does very well. Jupiter entered Cancer, I want to say in like June 2025, and stationed retrograde back in November. And I personally, because I'm a Cancer sun, so I'm looking forward to this, that forward momentum and the blessings in the sign of Cancer. So Cancer rules the home, the family, the chosen family, things that are comforting and nourishing for you. So I feel like once Jupiter turns direct, we'll have more of that like forward momentum in luck and expansion and all of those Jupiterian themes. Okay. So on the 13th of March, we have Mars conjunct the North Node. So Mars is the planet of war, aggression, action, and the North Node is the transit North Node is like our collective soul destiny. So that's going to be at 8 degrees of Pisces. Curious about this because Mars, war, Pisces, give peace a chance. And the North Node, our collective destiny. So I wonder if, like, we as a human global society, if we're just going to, stop war and stop blowing things up. But then, how will the elite billionaires and oligarchs? Anyway, so on the 15th of March, we have Mercury, the planet of communication, conjunct Mars in the sign of Pisces at 10 degrees Pisces. Again, these are archetypes, transits. I'm talking about Pisces. The intention of these monthly astrology reports is to prepare you. And if you feel so inclined to do some more research on how this is going to impact your chart, because we all have different charts, right? For one person, Pisces might be in their seventh house, relationships. For another person, Pisces could be in their third house of communication, 10th house of public image and legacy. So if you want to go deeper into how these transits impact you, either reach out for a reading or do some research. And I mean, I'm going on a little tangent as I do, but like that's how I learned astrology, right? I've been reading astrology books, going online, learning astrology for like 15 years. And you're never done learning. So it's kind of like a rabbit hole in that regards, but these are just like kind of the general like what I'm getting about these monthly transits. But I do recommend that people do more research. And if you're listening to this podcast, I'm assuming that you're interested in astrology. On the 19th of March, we have a new moon in Pisces at 28 degrees. Interesting. So the new moon in Aquarius, that solar eclipse in Aquarius was also at 28 degrees. So whenever there's like repeating themes, like the 28, 28, and overall we're having like 13, 13, 13 for the moons. It's very, very witchy to me. I don't know, 13 is a very witchy number for me. I always like to just pay attention. So yeah, the day before the astrological new year, which is the spring equinox. So I really see this month of time from the 17th of February to the 20th of March, like as this really powerful portal, right? In this time, we have eclipse season, we have just so much going on. And then also symbolically, right? What does spring represent? Renewal, right? Here, winter, this winter in particular has been brutal. So really like coming out and like thawing ourselves. So yes, on the 20th, the sun will enter Aries. We are now officially in spring. And and I like March 20th because not only does the sun enter Aries, we also have Mercury direct at 8 degrees of Pisces. And that 8 degrees of Pisces I just mentioned because only a week before that, Mars and the North Node are going to be at 8 degrees Pisces. So pay attention if you have 8 degrees in your chart, especially in mutable placements, right? So Mercury direct communication probably get a little easier, maybe still a little underwater because it's still in Pisces. Um, so then on the 22nd of March, we have the Sun and Neptune coming together at 1 degree of Aries in 50 minutes, and the Sun 3 days later on the 25th, making a conjunction with Saturn. Again, that Neptune Saturn conjunction is a big theme of this podcast, clearly, right? Because on the 7th and 8th, you had Venus, the planet of love, making a conjunction with those two signs, Neptune and Saturn. And then later on in the month, it's the sun, the identity, literally shining a light on Neptune, imagination, dreams, fantasy, delusion, illusion. And then Saturn, right? Highlighting this need to like get down to business, whatever that might be. So, lastly, March 30th, Venus, the planet of love, among other things, enters Taurus. And this is a very comfortable transit. Venus is very comfortable in Taurus. Venus loves to be in Taurus. Venus also loves to be in Libra. Venus rules both of those signs. So we can expect maybe more sensuality, more comfort, whatever that might look like. So that is the little March astrology roundup. I know I, for one, am looking forward to the spring equinox. So I next want to talk about a book that I've been reading. On December 1st, 1992, this woman, Barbara Marciniak, I hope I'm saying that right, wrote this book, channeled this book called Bringers of the Dawn, Teaching from the Pleiadians. I actually was listening to this book on my flight this morning and felt called to share some excerpts from the book that I feel like are timeless. Like this was written 33 years ago. And as I'm listening, I'm like, It's like, yeah, the more things change, the more they stay the same, right? Okay. So before I read the excerpts, I want to talk a little bit about what I know about the Pleiadians, which isn't really much. But so in astrology, always tying it back to astrology, you have these fixed stars. So I touched on Regulus, for example, as a fixed star. So for example, Regulus is now at 0 degrees of Virgo, was 29 degrees of Leo. I think that changed in 2011. Fixed stars are fixed, like they stay where they are. They might like move a little bit, but the Pleiadians are like a star cluster. They're known as like the Seven Sisters, and they're in like late Taurus, early Gemini. So I want to say that the Pleiades are located between like 27 degrees Taurus to like 0 Gemini, which is very interesting because Uranus just went direct at 27 degrees of Taurus. So like Uranus is sitting on this Pleiades star cluster. So, and Uranus is all about like radical change and awakening. So I wonder what this all means, right? This book is about a group of enlightened beings who have come to Earth to help us discover how to reach a new stage of evolution. So, again, another big theme in this podcast is exploring not only astrology, but different philosophies, belief systems. If this resonates with you, great. If it doesn't, that's totally fine too. I like to share excerpts from books I read and stuff to that matter. So I'm now going to read an excerpt from this Bringers of the Dawn book. As each of you has been assigned to become informed and to bring about a frequency alteration on this planet, you must learn to become keepers of frequency. You must rise to a certain place of knowledge and consistently stay there. You must become in command of your body so that you will will it into stillness or into activity. You must be able to go inside yourself and heal what needs to be healed emotionally and physically. You must begin to part the jungle of self and find the clearing so that you can show others the way. Sometimes you will show others the way not by speaking to them, but just by maintaining, living, and working on your own frequency and having the courage to do this. That's not even the paragraph I wanted to share. That's the paragraph before the one I wanted to share. So let's keep going. As system busters and potential keepers of frequency, you will obviously go into the areas where your specialties are most needed. Many of the beings who have incarnated as members of the family of light came to the United States because this is the land where you can make the most progress. This also happens to be a land where denial is pervasive. You believe that you live in the land of the free and the home of the brave, yet you live in the most controlled experimental society on the planet. The tyranny that has been set up here is rather interesting because it is a tyranny without walls. As a country and a collective consciousness, the United States has still not reached an awareness that something is not right. The environment of the United States is actually much more controlled than that of the former Soviet Union, where the control was obvious. That's just so wild to me because, as previously stated, the Berlin Wall, that fall of communism, the fall of the USSR, 1989. This book, written 1992, when Saturn at that point may have been in Aquarius, but coming off of a Saturn-Neptune conjunction, right? You have your Neptune and Uranus in Capricorn, your Pluto in Scorpio, your Saturn in Pisces. Like, we, we were meant to do something here, okay? So I'm going to keep going because these words, like 33 years later, I'm like, yeah, hello. So, because everyone is so frightened of giving up the system in the United States, they're going to be forced to give it up. The system is corrupt. It does not work. It does not honor life. See that so clearly. And does not honor Earth. You can bet it is going to fall, and it is going to fall big time. Yeah, adding on this summer is, well, I am born on the 4th of July. I think I've shared that before. So I also notice a lot of connections with my personal natal chart and the Sibley chart of the United States. So everyone's like, oh, America's 250-year anniversary. Yay, yay. And then like I'm like over here like looking in social studies teacher like, do you know that most empires like last 250 years? Like, and let's go take a look at, the Roman Republic to the empire, sack of Rome, internal corruption, religion, right? When I taught global history, when I would talk about the fall of the Roman Empire, the students were making their own parallels to modern day, like the internal, the external. And so I'm just going to say this. I think you're a fool if you think that any nation state, empire, etc., will last forever. And this might ruffle feathers, but again, I'm a 3-5 manifesting generator ruled by Gemini Mercury. So I'm going to say the thing. And if it ruffles your feathers, take that as maybe a sign to go deeper and ask why. So, also going on a million tangents, this 4th of July of 2026, this 250-year anniversary, we have a Mars and Uranus conjunction in Gemini. Mars, war, Uranus, change in Gemini. So, and again, I'm not a doomsday prepper. I'm just real. I am real. It's the history knowledge as well as the pattern recognition and the intuition. So just putting that out there. And I will also add too, when an empire is on its death throes, right? It will do anything to try to stay in power. It's like that, like death rattle type of thing. So just going back to this, does not honor life. I'm thinking of Renee Good and Alex Preddy, right? US citizens that were killed by state violence, ICE. And that is not honoring life. That's one example out of many. If you are literate, you understand. The US is a corporation. The US has never cared about human life, except for when they can extract labor from it. And even then, still don't care about you. Thinking of indentured servitude, chattel slavery, the fact that enslaved Black Americans literally built this country. And just the fact that like segregation was a thing until like 60 years ago, it's wild to me. Or different ethnic groups like immigrating, or I hate when people say, oh, well, they came here legally. Like, okay, turn of the century, you just like hop on a boat to Ellis Island and be like, hi, I'm here. Like that's what my ancestors did in like the late 19th century. So I just that really bothers me when people get like on their high horse about, oh, these illegal immigrants are sit down. Just sit down. So how did I get there? Oh, so consciousness must change. This is part of the divine plan, and this opportunity and setup are not going to be missed. There has been an over-involvement in the material world and a complete lack of understanding of the non-physical world that exists all around you. So there will be a reprioritizing of what comes first in life. People will stand up once they have lost everything. who had never thought of standing up when they owned everything. People will awaken to the incredible potential of themselves. In the next few years, so again, written in 1992, so in the next 4 years, when a lot of us Pluto and Scorpio baddies like myself were born, a connectedness and communal cooperation will begin to run through this country. And even, oh my God, with the Department of Justice releasing all these Epstein files, and I'm also connecting that to the Diddy documentary that came out, right? And a lot of these events that took place in the 1990s, Pluto and Scorpio generation, and us people born with Pluto and Scorpio. So if you're born between like 1984 to 1995, 1996, you are Pluto and Scorpio. You have X-ray vision, tired of the bullshit. You're excavating it. You're done rooting out the rot. We are done. So I really believe that us Pluto and Scorpio generation, we have a huge assignment here. And that's going to look different for everyone. For me, my Pluto and Scorpio is in the fourth house. So that's the literal root chakra, family, ancestry, a lot of stuff to unpack there. This is just astonishing what she writes. It's so timeless. That separation was delayed. Whenever a people are separated and they focus on what they do not have in common or label themselves different from others, it is a perfect disguise to keep them from discovering what they do have in common. This separation keeps people from banding together and becoming very strong. Much of the political maneuvering going on, particularly in the United States, is purposely designed to separate you. Look at the New Age. Do you see how the New Age is separated? All kinds of things are said to keep you from discovering what you have in common. When people discover this, they will begin to get angry. As more and more of the methods of control and separation are revealed to you, the anger will build in the United States. Events will occur that may look as if the country is falling apart. Yet, they will serve the purpose of bringing people together. A new pride and new sense of integrity will come about because this is what is designed for the times. This is just wild to me. I will link the PDF to this book, Bringers of the Light, in the show notes by Barbara Marciniak. It is, I don't even like the term controversial because you can also say that, like, my podcast is controversial. It's maybe provocative in the sense that it's challenging the norms and maybe having you think differently using, maybe different neural pathways that you haven't used. I don't know. I'm not saying, right, I'm not a fan of dogma. I don't like when people say, you need to do this, you need to believe that. I'm like, no. And just when I forget, because I heard about this Bringers of the Dawn book from like two different places. And like I know like when I hear things like two or three times, I'm like, that's a sign that I should probably check this out. And just the fact that like I listened to it this morning on the day of the eclipse, like there were times I was listening, I was like I've felt like an emotional connection. I'm like, yes, yes. Again, I don't know how much personally I not like believe, but I also feel like in the new age world, you have so many people that like, like stuff like that. Like I do enjoy learning about all of this. And it's also like use your own judgment and use your own discernment because from a grounded, right, grounded spirituality, bringing it down, I can see how this could potentially lead people especially if they're not grounded into, a type of spiritual psychosis because, you believe that you're this star seed, you were, the reincarnation of this, that, I'm Cleopatra. And anyway, so again, that's what I'm all about, grounded spirituality, using things like astrology as a tool. And also, just really examining the human condition. Like, what are we doing here? That's something that I like to explore in solo episodes. That's something I like to explore when I have guests come on. And I have guests coming on from all walks of life, some older, some younger, some male, some female. And it's no two people experience life the same way. Like I'm even thinking about nature versus nurture. I was having a conversation about this with my sister the other day. That nature, the biology piece, and then the nurture. It's like the same upbringing as two totally different people. So we are literally just experiencing like this tiny fractal of consciousness, as I believe Dr. Marissa was saying in that last episode. And no two people are going to have the same takes on everything. You know what I mean? So I just felt that that was an interesting take. And then I guess in closing, something that's been like weighing on me, and I don't know how deep I want to get into this like right now, is like political differences. Like I personally find myself politically homeless in the sense that like I see past beyond the veil of politics and feel like a lot of what this current administration is doing right now, it's like I not only disagree with political, but like on an ethical, moral, and spiritual level. And seeing, people that you know in life supporting ICE. They're like, oh, well, they need to come here illegally. Um, and I think just for myself, like coming to terms with, I've always, there's always been people in my life that I disagreed with politically. And now, I mean, like ICE is just like one example. There's so much, but like where it really just comes to like an ethics, values, and morals piece. So I'm curious if you maybe are going through something similar, um, that dissonance juxtaposition piece. I don't know, just putting that out there. Anyway, I feel like I'm rambling a little bit, so I'm going to wrap this up. So, again, you are listening to the Liminal Pathways podcast. My name is Sarah. If you enjoyed this, please let me know. You can leave a comment, share, subscribe. Even if you hated my podcast, right? You disagree with everything I said, let me know. If you are interested in booking a reading with me, we can go deeper into your natal chart. If you want to do a transit chart reading, a synastry relationship reading, you can send me an email at Sarah, SARAH, .liminal.pathways, or follow me on social media, liminal.pathways. Thank you so much for listening, and I'll see you next time. Ciao for now.